Today is homemade tomato soup day, and you are going to learn how to make a creamy, velvety, delicious tomato soup without any cream or butter.
And without spilling the beans, stay tuned to find out how we're going to pack this soup with some plant-based protein.
Hi, I'm Debbie. Welcome to my kitchen, the home of Almost Vegan Cooking School. Okay, so this is not your typical mother's tomato soup. This is an upscale version of comfort food, but what I really want you to learn is how to take canned tomatoes and bring out the flavor on the cooktop. One of the ways that we're going to do this is by flavoring the oil.
And Debbie, is there a way to make this recipe and bring out these same flavors without using oil?
Yes, there is. Now I use a minimal amount of oil, but yes, if you want to go oil-free, then you would just start by toasting your cumin seeds in a dry skillet for 30 seconds or less, and then throw in the chopped onion because there's a lot of moisture in that, and then the moisture from the tomatoes and everything, and it'll all come together and marry really well.
Good. And speaking of the onion, the vegetables for this recipe are just some chopped onion and carrot. And you can see we've prepped these. They're a rather small dice, but that's really not necessary. Just a rough chop will do, since we will be adding the soup to the blender to make it nice and creamy later on.
That's right. You don't have to do any fancy chopping with that. And then finally, you can use any type of tomatoes in your cupboard. I happen to love fire roasted tomatoes, so we're going to throw in a can of that and just regular plain whole tomatoes. So I think we can get started on the cooktop.
Sounds good.
Okay, I'm gonna add 2 teaspoons of cooking oil to the pot. And I've got this on medium high right now. And I've got a half a teaspoon of cumin seeds. I just want to toast that. Okay, now I hear a little sizzle, so the next thing I'm going to add is my rough chopped onion. And like Courtney said, you can really rough chop this because it is going to go back into the blender. And then my carrots. And these are the Indian spices that we're going to be adding. So I've got a teaspoon of coriander, and I've got turmeric, that wonderful spice that we've been talking about, and we did a whole series on turmeric. And then I did a little pinch of cayenne pepper because I really like that, but you can leave that out altogether or just do, you know, like about 1/8 teaspoon. And then I'm going to add a little bit of salt. And my garlic cloves. And once everything begins to become fragrant, that's when we want to add our tomatoes. Okay, so I've moved the soup to the back burner. It's going to cook for about 30 minutes. The only other thing I added was some cracked pepper. And while that's cooking, I'm going to toast some chickpeas, which is going to be one of our garnishes on the top. And I've got a cast iron skillet now up to about medium high, and it's just really a dry skillet. And this is a really fun topping to add at the end. I'm going to toasted in the skillet for about 8 to 10 minutes. Okay, well, the chickpeas are done and they're toasted, almost burnt, but not quite. And that's the way I like them. You can take a chickpea that right out of the can, actually, if you want to make sure you rinse it first, or homemade chickpeas are my favorite. And then we can toast them in a dry skillet, or we can even put them on a baking sheet like this and roast them for about 30 minutes at 350, 375, and they really turn into a nut, like a peanut. And both of these ideas are wonderful and healthy toppings to have with tomato soup.
And another idea for a more traditional topping for your tomato soup are some homemade croutons. Now these were made with a hearty sourdough bread. A sprouted bread would be really good too. And you can make these just like the chickpeas. You can make them on the stovetop in a skillet, maybe with a little bit of oil. Or if you want to skip the oil, I'd recommend putting them on a baking sheet in the oven, just so it gets nice and crisp. And finally, another idea would be some pumpkin seeds. These are also referred to as pepitos. And these are really good, just lightly toasted. No oils needed, just on a skillet, lightly toasted until you can smell their wonderful fragrance. And nuts and seeds, as you know, are an important part of a healthy diet and part of Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen.
Absolutely. So we've just transferred our seasoned tomatoes, which have been on the cooktop for about 30 minutes. The carrots are fork tender, and we're going to puree this all up.
Oh, don't forget our secret ingredient.
Oh, I can't believe it.
Add a little extra protein to our soup.
1 cup of chickpeas, and this is what's so marvelous about plant-based cooking, is just revising a recipe and to make it so much healthier. So it is a little hot too. You may want to make sure that you vent the top, and we're gonna puree this all up.
That looks good.
It does. Normally I wouldn't want to wear a white blouse doing this though, making tomato soup. So next I'm gonna add 2 cups of water, and that is going to actually be added to the soup pot, but why not clean the Vitamix at the same time? And then I'm going to add a tablespoon of sweetener. This could be any kind of brown sugar, agave, anything that you have on hand. And then I'm going to blend this up, add that back in. It's going to go on the cooktop for another 15 minutes or so. Oh, yes.
And then we'll add a bay leaf or 2 also, just for some extra seasoning.
Yeah, not the bay leaf in the Vitamix, only the bay leaf in the soup. Yep, and it's almost done.
So we have our soup back on the stove. We're going to continue cooking that for at least 15 minutes on a low temperature with the bay leaf.
This looks so good, Courtney. And it has all of my favorite toppings. We have toasted and roasted chickpeas, homemade croutons, and pumpkin seeds. I mean, what could be better than that, all on tomato soup?
And with all that extra protein we added, this soup is a meal in itself.
It really is, but if you love tomato soup and grilled cheese sandwich, we've done a video on how to create a grilled cheese sandwich vegan style.
And check out the description below. Regardless of where you're at on your vegan journey, we have resources, documentaries, books, lots of things to help you along the way.
I hope you enjoyed this cooking class as much as we enjoyed bringing it to you. This cooking school came to be because there is so much good news to share about a plant-based diet. Become a part of our cooking school family in an effort to heal our bodies, to heal each other,